getting stronger helps with the resilience of the body, but only if you see the shot coming and you brace for impact. So it's one of those, if you almost imagine, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. When the muscles are taut, they take the impact and it doesn't penetrate and go in. I almost see it like if you imagine looking underneath a trampoline while the kids are bouncing on it, and you see them kind of the 2 feet coming, penetrating through underneath and going up again. The stronger you are, the tighter that is, the less that flexes and goes in. But that's while the muscle is tight and braced for impact. If you're kind of relaxed, switched off, didn't see it coming or whatever, that's like a slack trampoline and it goes right in. It sinks right to the floor and you're like, oh, damage.
Fighters, welcome back to another episode of Heatrick Muay Thai Performance.
So the big bit for body shots, I find, is making sure you're being really observant. And even if you didn't manage to get an elbow in the way or a knee up or whatever you're sort of defending the torso with, it's seeing it coming and just being brace and flex and try and get those ribs rather than being sort of open, flex them in a bit, brace and switch your lat on, switch the core on. Then all that trampoline's tight and it's just like, boom, it bounces off you a lot more. So just something to bear in mind there. The thing is, in the clinch, because you're that close, you're less reliant on visibly seeing it coming. And it's more that you're monitoring how your partner's moving. And I almost, a bit like the old Wing Chun Kung Fu blindfolded sticky hands drill where you just feel where they're going. Kind of, even with my eyes closed, I can feel the weight shifting and I can anticipate what's happening. In the clinch, you're a little bit more like that, in that you feel them pull on you, push on you. There's little shifts in balance. You don't necessarily have to see it's coming to be like, oh, here it comes, right, brace. So yeah, have a little think about that as well while you're clinching, feeling an anticipatory kind of impact coming, because you kind of starting to predict that kind of stuff. That will come with experience, but yeah, if you can sort of focus a little bit more on that, you'll probably find you're going to be more robust in the midsection too. So if you imagine, so if I'm kind of stood upright, my ribs are kind of like this. As soon as I get into my fighting stance, moved away from the mic there. As soon as I get into my fighting stance and I kind of curl, my ribs compress together. And that's what we want. Compress that space between the ribs so you're kind of curled forwards and you're crunched and your core is switched on. And then you've also got this, because I was a Muay Thai fighter, loved the clinch. That was my place. I didn't get hurt by knees. It was just, I was Mr. Bulletproof in the core. And a lot of that was, I was strong there, but also I could just anticipate and knew things were coming and I could get my ribs closed and switched on. And as well as that kind of bracing, you've also got, especially if you know which way it's coming, you've got that kind of lateral shift. You can kind of brace one side or the other, like, and brace that. But the other thing is, I think I did a video on this. The breathing. So exhaling on an impact. I was always really big that when I throw a strike, there's that, and I'm using my diaphragm to contract when I do that. But likewise, when someone hit me, I'd actually breathe out. So it's almost like an airbag absorbing that breath through, with the tongue against the roof of your mouth so that it's kind of hissing as it comes out, creates that internal pressure in your core to take it, but also a little bit of give. And if you can actually just subtly with your footwork, your hips, move away from the strike a little bit as it comes in, just a little subtle shift rather than into it, then that takes away the force. So yes, it's like walking into a kick, isn't it? Or moving away from it as it hits you. So just a little lateral shift away from a knee as it comes in as well. I would be quite good in the clinch. Once I feel I'm hanging on to them, I can feel that knees coming in. I'd almost sort of a little skip, a little hop and contract my ribs that side and move my body away as it came in if I couldn't do anything about it. And that would really make absorbing it massively, massively different, rather than either moving into it or being upright, stretched out. Yeah, and even if you feel like you're relatively upright in the clinch, you can still be compressed on one side versus the other if you've anticipated it's coming. It's like, oh shit, I'm just bracing for impact here. There's nothing I can do about it. Last resort is absorbing this well. I can squash my ribs down that side. And I find actually thinking about, especially in the clinch, thinking about controlling where your elbows are relative to your opponent. And if you're driving with that, rather than thinking so much about your arms pulling on them, I always think of the arms as being like, the hands are like meat hooks hooking into neck, shoulder, crook of elbow, all that kind of stuff. And what's happening is I'm actually thinking about where I pull the elbow as I'm controlling in the clinch, rather than what I'm doing really so much with my hands. I lock in and then I control what's going on with the elbows. As soon as you do that, I mean, even if you just hold your hands up and just think, right, I'm thinking about where my elbows are, you can feel your lats and the ribs are switching on, your core switching on. All of a sudden, now you're tight in the clinch. So if you imagine you're kind of subtly pulling down, you feel how that switches on. So if you're instantly, now your spine's in a much more robust position, not only for getting your force and unbalancing them, but also, if the analogy I have for fighters is to think about, almost forget you've got a forearm, just think about your upper arm, point your elbows at your opponent like forklift truck prongs, or elephant tusks pointing forwards. And it's like, if you're doing that and you're even in your guard there, that makes that rock solid, but it massively switches on your core, and it can actually be quite relaxed. So rather than you feel like holding your arms up there, it's like, oh, effort in my shoulders. As soon as you feel like I'm just pointing my elbows towards them, now I can be quite relaxed, but my lats are a little bit more on, the bigger muscle groups. And you can be relaxed to move around, but it's like, oh, that feels different. And you'll be much more robust in the core.
Thanks for listening. If you found this valuable, please like, subscribe, and share with someone else it could help too. Please give the podcast a review or comment below. We'd love to hear from you. As always, you can visit Heatrick.com for more Muay Thai performance podcasts, videos, articles, and guides. Catch you next time.